Survival is not just about staying alive. It's about finding hope, healing, and strength. This is The Survivor's Voice. I'm your host, Angie Sedore. Before we begin, this episode may contain discussions of trauma, abuse, or other sensitive topics. Listener discretion is advised. We don't recommend listening to this show with young children present, and we encourage you to prioritize your well-being. Today on The Survivor's Voice,
I thought I was going to die that night, but I never had like this hate where I wanted to take their life. You feel helpless and you feel hopeless, but that doesn't mean that you should do nothing.
welcome to The Survivor's Voice. We're so excited that you're joining us today. We're here today with a friend of mine, Nate Lewis, and I'm really excited to hear his story. He has such a deep and significant background, and there's so many layers to him. It's actually an honor to have him on our show. And so let's get into it. Nate, thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we just tell our audience, who you are, what do you do right now? Like what's Nate in an everyday situation?
Yeah. Well, so I run an organization called The Innocent. We train and equip law enforcement on proactive investigations to hunt predators online. Yeah. My team is active duty law enforcement, and actually we just brought on our first retired law enforcement officer because we're growing and we need to expand our team. And so really we're going out there and teaching them best cases, all the techniques and tips and how to run a full-scale operation. And really we're building task forces. Okay. So we go into a community and we have, several officers or detectives from the 5 or 6 surrounding departments. We bring them in. We run a live, full-scale undercover operation from beginning to end.
Live?
And yeah, it's real.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So we go. It's not a scenario-based thing.
Okay,
It's like, hey, this is how you do it. We're gonna walk you through it, and then, on a certain day, they have people show up. And they all assigned roles, so they know how to do it. They know whose job is what and what's the best chain of commands and all these things and all the things it takes to run a full-scale, scalable operation to run these sting operations with the task force throughout the rest of the year. So basically come in, teach them how to fish, give them some fishing equipment, kind of a deal, and then let them go catch fish, for the rest of the year without us.
Naughty. Bad fish.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's our flagship. That's kind of what we do, and I'm moving into a different area. I'm giving the power back to the people now. So that part of The Innocent is up and running, and we're booked out till next year. Awesome. Training some significant departments and having some impact all over
on like a national scale.
Yeah. So we were just in Texas. We're going to be, I can't tell you all the places that we're going specifically soon because, these are live things, but we're doing another couple states. We're going into one of the largest sheriff's departments in the United States. We're going to potentially over one of the largest police departments in the world. And so we're going into small communities, large communities, building these task forces. But then now it's time to get the people fired up. Yeah. And I think a little bit about that is I see these men and women who are so excited to I want to go protect children.
Yeah.
Protect and preserve the innocence of children. That's our mission.
Yep.
And they do these cases, they date these predators nights and weekends, and then they show up, they get arrested, and then someone pleads out of court and they get 6 months in a county jail. And probably deserve 10 to 25, years in prison.
Yeah.
And why? And who's not holding these people accountable? Well, now it's time, I think, to educate not only for what to look for and how to be a parent and safe and children, how do you report it, all those things, but how do you, as a community member, not only just bring the training in to get your cops to be involved and do this, but how do people have these events, be educated to go to city council meetings and just demand answers to some of these things that I think people are frustrated for. And look, I'm not going to lose my job for questioning them because actually they work for us, right?
That's right.
And so where are the people now going to be equipped to go out? And that's coming very soon. So it's the law enforcement side who can actually do a lot more than civilians can as far as the accounts and all the investigations and then the whole prosecution and all that stuff. And now we as the people have our part to play, holding the elected officials accountable to really not even just the sentencing and passing laws and all those things, but like, let's prioritize our children
Yeah.
on this war for innocence.
Yeah.
That's really how I look at it, how I view it is this is a war that we're fighting. And if you're not for this war, you're for victimizing children.
Agreed.
And if you don't think that it's happening, don't put your head in the sand and be ignorant, because it is happening. And we're here to show you the massive amounts. I mean, this sexual abuse that's happening right now on a massive scale is beyond what people, I think, can comprehend. As humans, we all have a relationship with sex in some degree, and people think that they're immune to it, but they're not. And just society and what they're feeding people, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It is. It's
It
crazy.
is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we're at in the organization.
Yeah.
Here, we're 100% focused in the United States, and we're here to protect and preserve the innocence of children in any way we can.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's get into your story.
I mean, I don't even know where to start. And I
Let's talk about your childhood.
my childhood. Yeah, my childhood. Interesting. I grew up in a great home. Grew up, my dad grew apples. I grew up in the orchards and learned to work at a very young age. There was a interesting moment in time. My parents, I grew up in this time where you didn't really talk about the birds and the bees.
No.
Like nobody wants to have that.
Yep.
It's an uncomfortable conversation. I'm not dating myself, but they didn't have these books in schools where they're trying to, teach children about having sex with other children, which is potentially child sexual abuse material in itself. Watching
Yeah.
children have sex with children inside of a book that's available at a library.
Oh my God.
Not to go down that route, but that wasn't around for me as a kid.
Yeah.
And so my parents trying to decide when do we have that conversation, hadn't had that conversation with me. And then it was when I was in a situation that was a shocking situation and forced into a situation that I was like, whoa, what's this? And then it made me uncomfortable. And it, obviously I wasn't trafficked or anything, but I was abused at a young age. I just turned 12. And it on a minor level compared to what we see, right?
Yeah.
But still, it was something that happened to me that was like changed the trajectory in my life.
Yeah. Was it an older woman?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the thing about that is like, I spent many years, probably even still today, just burying it until recently, probably, like so much that if I didn't talk about it, if I didn't think about it, it would just go away.
Yeah.
And then I just went on about my life. Lots of details in there that I won't bore people with. And then, there was one point where I was taken at gunpoint and at a gang initiation and lost my freedom. And I understand for a moment, I mean, this is how I described it then. I always describe it now because this is what it felt like. Is I put my life into a bottle and handed it to some people and they were waving it in front of my face and I had no control over my life. They had complete control over my life.
So you were being initiated into a gang?
No.
No.
It was a gang initiation that for whatever reason, they had to
You were
go.
just a victim.
Yeah. And so I went for a really cool joyride.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Walk me through that.
I just was living in Los Angeles at the time. And
How old
actually
were you?
23 years old, walking home. And I don't know where a gun was in my chest. Several people put me in a car, was ready to go. And it was the beginning of, I thought I was going to die that night. After a while, like at first I was like, hey, take my wallet, put your hands down, get in the car. Like,
What?
and then things just started playing out. And then the survivor thing kicked in, to be honest with you. Like I became somebody I wasn't. And I don't know where that was a part of me, like things that I was doing and saying, like would have never even thought I would say or do.
Wow.
But it was a instinct inside of me to get me through that night. So much to the point that I was freestyle rapping and they were laughing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I don't freestyle rap. Let's just say that. But then when they were laughing so hard, they're like, white boy, you might need a record deal. That's, I don't even know where it was coming from. All kinds of things that happened.
Wow.
And it was like, certain comments. Because at first I didn't think I was going to get out alive. And then there was a little glimmer of hope, like, dang, maybe I will get out alive. But I think giving up, and I guess I could call giving up on life at that point, because I kind of just surrendered to like death at that point. Like
Wow.
that kind of was what I felt like. Oh, I had a fear of dying young anyways. This is how it happens. And so that maybe had something to do with me getting out of it. Anyways, I got out of it. I went through the whole court thing, Supreme Court, Los Angeles, listened to all these cases, faced 2 of the 3 people. One of them was sentenced to life in prison. I was in full disguise and the whole thing. And yeah.
Wow.
So going through the court system with detectives, doing all the things that you do for a case and the investigation side, being a victim, understanding how victims, I was so mad how not how I was being treated, but that the system didn't support me. And I was like, wait, no, I'm not going to testify with these people, and all their friends and stuff are going to show up in court and follow me home. Like,
Heck no.
All these things. And we navigated a lot of things and got around some things. But that was my first real look into law enforcement at a high level. I was in Los Angeles, in one of the biggest courtrooms in the United States, potentially in the world, and navigating through all that, and then navigating through my own things that I made up from that, right? Okay. And then the life that I started to live because of that. For the first while, I moved immediately. And I won't get into all the details.
Out of state or?
No, just to a new location because they had my ID with my address.
Yeah.
And then, I didn't, for a little time, I didn't like going outside at night. Like I wanted to be able to see everything all the time. But then for a decade, I went into serious preparation for the next time, right?
Oh.
Being prepared.
Okay.
I was completely caught off guard and unprepared and put my life in a situation that potentially I could have lost. And it traumatized me. Like it was severe PTSD the next morning. I was going through pretty traumatic as a young age for what they put me through. Here's the thing. So for 10 years, it consumed my everyday moment of my life, where I sat, how I looked at things, every observation, high alert, completely preparing myself physically, everything to be ready for the next time, running through scenarios a million times of how you address, what do you do, being able to have the upper hand and reliving that situation and where I could take an advantage, taking control, and like obsessed.
Wow.
100% obsessed with that. And it consumed my life. It consumed relationships. It consumed my behaviors. Made me really good at some of my jobs that I actually had.
I bet.
Working with, I worked with celebrities and certain things and like seeing things and avoiding situations and whatever. And it wasn't until one time I was going through these classes and I met this guy. He's a former Navy SEAL and he worked with, a friend of his was some people who were taken hostage. He's kind of like a counselor for them for after they get out of being in a hostage situation, which was similar to what I was in. And it was a really quick phone call. Fortunately, actually, I guess it was a really quick phone call because it was early on when he heard my story. And then he's like, how are things going? And I told him kind of what I told you. And he's like, why are you doing this to yourself? And I said, oh, it's never going to happen again. Next time.
Yeah.
They're going to pick the wrong guy, being prepared, not being an easy target. And he said, hey man, can I ask you a couple of questions? I was like, yeah. He said, what's the chances that happens to somebody in their lifetime? Mm-hmm. And I was like, like 1 in a million. And he laughs. 1 in a million? Probably not. Like, be more realistic. And I was like, I don't know, 1 in 10 million. He's like, I doubt 1 in 10 million people go through what you went through. I really do. But let's just go with 1 in 10 million, right? What's the chances that somebody goes through that same thing twice?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Talk about perspective. Wow.
That was a huge moment for me to be like, what the heck am I focusing all my energy into this, being prepared for something that will be like 1 in a billion chances of happening? Hasn't even happened since then? No. Am I prepared? I'm prepared. Can I get more prepared? I don't know if I can. I'm pretty prepared. I just got freedom in that moment.
Wow.
Because I was carrying so much.
Oh my God.
Still of the fear of that it was going to happen again.
How did they let you go?
Again, it was many hours of, I have no idea. I think really I built this relationship with them.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I even challenged them, even though because I knew I was going to die. I felt I was, I got in their face one time and called them out. Like, you keep telling me you're going to kill me and all this stuff, like whatever. I was like, you're just a big talker,
God.
like do it. Like, I actually told him, I was like, do it.
Wow.
I've lived a good life. I've lived a better life than most people will ever live, and I'm ready to go. Come on, let's go. Quit talking and do it. And I kept saying, it's so weird. I'm usually the one that does this to people and being on the other side. And I was like, have you ever been on the other side? You ever been the victim? And I didn't use the word victim, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, yeah. And I just kept like doing all these things, and almost like I became one of them, and they accepted me in,
Wow.
to where I don't even know why they let me go. Even the detectives afterwards, like 9 out of 10 people who get into a vehicle with someone in that situation don't live.
Wow.
And then here's the other crazy thing. Why they got caught was because they let me live. Because I could,
Well, of course.
Right. So why would they let me live?
Oh my God.
It makes no sense. And then all the time, all the stuff that they went in, and third person, they're facing, one of them was 16 years, 15 without parole, one of them was life. They wouldn't give up any information about the third person involved. That in itself says something, right? Like, they're not giving up. So what are they involved in? What kind of, so would it be easy for them to have just dumped me in the alley where they let me go? Yeah. And I thought that was what was going to happen. I thought I was taking bullets to the back. And they let me go, dropped me off in South Central LA.
Oh my God.
And so anyways, long story. That's why I said that could be an hour call, but it was in that moment, one, fear, trauma, right? But I lost my freedom. I lost control of my life. I couldn't talk. Everything that I did was if they told me to do something.
Wow.
Right? I couldn't literally make a sound, because if anything came out of my mouth, they would be like, shut white boy, like, and maybe that's why I tried to make them laugh. I don't even know. But man, that's a terrible feeling to have. Wow. No control of your life. It's the only time in my life I've ever not had any control of my life. I was a slave to whatever they needed and wanted to do, so that's a little bit of my background. And then I buried that and tried to move on. And then here I go, I work in the entertainment business, travel the world with Jim Caviezel is a good friend of mine I work for. He played in this movie, Sound of Freedom, people might have seen. And it was at that movie where he was like, hey, come down to Columbia, film this movie about this dude that rescues kids. And I was like, what? And started to watch all these videos and things and learning more, researching more. And I was just like, whoa. Wow. And then had an opportunity to meet him and some people, and then got recruited, went and worked with this organization internationally, focusing on all these things, had crazy experience in North Africa with child sacrifice. And that was really
to witness that.
I didn't watch them sacrifice a child, but I held children who had been that lived through it.
Oh my God.
Like there's most don't live through it. Right. There's so many stories about that. And that was the first like journey for me into, man, we could go down a whole nother rabbit hole of like, I never lived with hate. Even though people who took me at gunpoint when they were like, hey, what sentence do you want? It was like some pathetic 24-hour sentence. Like I wanted to have them for 24 hours in a 25-foot fence around a backyard because I wanted to do what they did to me. What a stupid... I was 23, remember?
Right,
I was immature.
Right,
yeah. But I never had like this hate where I wanted to take their life or anything.
Yeah.
And then, when we're hunting witch doctors and the kids, these precious children whose life have been completely changed. Like, it's so hard and so beautiful because these kids still are children, like smiling and dancing and laughing and playing. And to see like what a person could do to these children was so hard. Even thinking about it now, it's so hard. Like it lit this freaking anger that I still deal with today. Like it's a righteous anger, but man, I've never lived with so much hate and anger. And then that just carries around in your day. And I don't want it. I don't want to carry that. Right. Like, but it's so evil and it's so wrong. And so that's when I said, God, I don't know why you put me through these events in my life, but I'm starting to see why you put me here. Right. And so then I did that, and I spent years dealing more with the international part of all this and seeing the different horrific things that people do in foreign countries. And people kept asking me, well, what are we going to do here in America? When are we going to do something that's,
Yeah.
there's kids, it's this stuff's
It's
maybe not
everywhere.
happen in the same degree or as prominent in all these
Right.
places that's so acceptable, but it's happening. And when are we going to do something here? And I was like, yeah, good question, and why isn't it happening? And then talking to law enforcement, my buddies, like what's going on with their budgets and lack of training and all these things. And then it was just truly like at an event with my COO, Brian, and Bree, this girl who I want to have on here. And she was sitting on the other side of Brian, and somebody in the crowd's like, what can we do in our community? And it just came to me. I was like, Brian, he's the sergeant over the detective unit. I was like, can you just give me a line item budget of what do you need? Like, what do you and your department need? And then I looked at the lady who throws on this event. I said, we're going to start a fundraiser and you guys are going to fund it, the people. And it was like this roar, like, yes, let's go.
Wow.
And I went, that actually is a great idea.
Wow.
Right? And I called my wife and said, I think I know what's going to happen with our life. She's like, what's that? I was like, I think I'm going to start an organization that funds the people, fund the police in their communities and build safe communities. And they get to watch their money go to work in their own town, protecting the innocence of children. And she's like, well, that sounds awesome. And then it grew and it's grown. And now we're at a solid place where, we're training lots of departments, lots of officers every month, and they're continuing to share stories with us and impact and getting fired up. And it's just amazing to see that happen. And in, I think, a short amount of time, 18 months
that's
is really, I mean, we're well-oiled machine to be able to pass the torch off to Brian, and now me focus on the community and now getting the people the power back, which we talked about a little bit ago. And so I still get stories all the time. I still deal with, not so much on a daily basis still, but sometimes, like yesterday, I was wrecked by another woman whose child was going through all this stuff and like just the frustrations of stupid politics and things, and that part now is frustrating me. We have a plan, I think, that could be supported from the top down at the government level that can really, we have the answer. How do we do this? We build task forces, like the drug task forces.
Yeah.
And we've already done it. This is how it works. Oh, that's a great idea. Now just give the funding to the police to bring us in. Okay. Now I'm going to focus on training and equipping the people because we have to.
Yeah.
We have to. It's our right, our obligation, and our duty as an adult to protect and guide our children.
Yeah.
We're failing as a society if we're not. So now it's time. Let's get the people fired up.
Yeah.
Let's get them to actually take action. And not only that, like I can only do so much, but there's an army of people out there who are fired up too, who are tired of this, that wanted to feel like they can do something, and we're about to hand deliver them ways that they can go into their communities. We're going to get it from the top down, like I just said, hopefully from the highest level, and then we're going to start at the grassroots and we're going to work our way up and hopefully be able to really make some serious impact. That's my hope.
That gets me really excited.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, but here's the thing. The fuel is that freaking anger, which is so crazy.
True, but it's a righteous anger. Like you said, it's not. It's a good thing.
It is, because it's what drives action.
Yep.
So people out there that like have this anger is like, oh, I'm so frustrated, I'm so tired, or my child, or this and that. Like, great. You know that energy? That's energy, right?
Yeah.
Channel it.
Yeah.
Let's channel it. Let's like lead change in communities with that energy. You have to hone that. That energy, you can let it destroy you, or you can let it empower you to make change.
Yes.
And I think that's where the people are right now, is like, you feel helpless and you feel hopeless, but that doesn't mean that you should do nothing. Right. Like, and like what you just said is like, what can I do? What can I do? I get 90% of the questions aren't asking what we do. It's asking what they can do.
Yes.
Right. And so it's time to train and equip them.
Yes.
Starting with the education. We have some really cool partners that we're going to be working with that developed some really good training and education, years in the making. It's about to be released here very soon. And that's the first step. So through our community link, you're going to be able to download this thing that you can print out and follow step by step. And the first thing is to get educated, but like really educated. Not like, hey, I saw a post on social media from some guy or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, here's some backed by professional trainings for the people. Because my board member, who's a school resource officer, we've been somewhat involved. This lady's done all the work, but we have been for a year. I've been involved with her, and he's been involved with her like on a consistent basis. And he put it out there to some of the kids in the schools. And 2 of them came forward and said they'd been sexually abused.
Oh my gosh.
These are the type of tools we need in schools. And it's coming because kids don't know how to talk about it. They also, as many people know, including myself, they're told this is normal.
That is so true.
Yeah, like, oh, hey, there's so many cases where the child has been told, hey, since nobody's talked to you about the birds and the bees, I'm going to be the first person.
Oh my God.
And let me tell you about it. And it's normal, right? Whoa, so much that it's actually becoming normal, like in society, to talk about it with children. And that's exactly what these predators want. I'm telling you right now, predators want us to have these conversations with kids at a younger age. Why? Because then it's a common thing for them to like, oh yeah, we can explore, we can talk about this, whatever.
Yep.
That's the avenue they've been taking forever.
Yes.
These predators have been like, how do I reach them and be the first? Get them young.
Yes.
And then they can just manipulate and let them know that, oh, you didn't know that? Oh, this is normal. Oh my God. This is how it happens. Cases after cases after cases, because these brains aren't fully developed.
Right.
Why we protect them till they're 18 is because they don't know how to make rational decisions. They don't understand. They're still learning. The world's a wonder.
Yeah.
Right? To them. And they're soaking it in and taking all these things. They believe in Santa. They believe in all these things, right? They're going to believe you as an adult if you tell them.
Of course.
Educate the kids.
Yeah.
What are we doing? We're failing. You put them through all these things in school that are good, but where are we educating them for life?
We don't, ever.
Why? And this is part of the whole thing that I'm going to get on and start preaching about and really pushing is prioritizing our children. Why in the world are we prioritizing so many things? I see it all the time, every day. Where do children fall? You want to talk about this, you want to talk about that in some country, you want to talk about here, you want to talk about there. Where are we talking about children in America and prioritizing them and protecting them? Because right now, this is something I hope that people do. Go to familywatchdog.us. It's a website that you can go see all the registered sex offenders living in your community. And you can see what they're arrested for. You can see their mugshots. You can do it all, right?
Yeah.
Here's what's crazy. People will 100% of the time go, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I can't believe that. That's not even shocking to me. You know what's shocking to me? 100,000 registered sex offenders are missing in the United States. There's 500,000 registered sex offenders in the United States. Now, these are all statistics you can look up through the National Sex Offender Registry. There's all this data out there in stats. Here's another crazy thing. So in one state that we were happy to be a part of, doing a large operation where we arrested 13 individuals in one weekend. They've been doing these sting operations for 5 years in one state. Okay. And in 5 years, arrested nearly 350 individuals over 5 years. So that's a little bit of data. But from that data, 3% of those are registered sex offenders. If you look at that website and put in your address and you think that's a lot, if you
so
think about that data, that's only 3% that haven't been caught. Why? Because law enforcement's being reactive.
Yes.
We have to be proactive.
Yes.
And that's what our training is we're working on so many things right now to try to get grants to grant law enforcement, even part-time, to only do proactive work. There's law enforcement who's reacting to the 911 call or the mom calling or this and that or what's happening or seeing this on social media and react. It's too late.
Yeah.
Why does there have to be a victim to start taking action?
I know.
And here's the thing. They're not going out to the parks with all the millions of cameras on every street corner, every stoplight, every park, everything to expose their identity and their driver's license and their plates and all this stuff.
Yeah.
They're hiding their identity online and they're going through social media and they're going through gaming systems. They're going through all these different platforms the kids are more educated than the parents on.
Yep. That's a problem.
That's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Not only that, you want me to tell you what's really a problem? Why the heck are social media platforms introducing grown men to 11-year-old children?
No kidding.
And then when that 11-year-old child, and how do I know this? Because we pretend to be 11-year-olds online. So when we pretend to be an 11-year-old on social media, And we're building a new account, or have an account that's existed for a while. And this social media platform is introducing these grown men, and we go, oh, except within an hour, we have 5 to 10 profiles that look very similar to that individuals who follow other 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds being suggested, hey, guess what? I'm a dating site, match made in heaven, right? I'm going to introduce you. You're 51. I think you should talk to this 11-year-old. Let's take it a step further. What kind of conversations are being had on your platform? Social media companies? Well, I can tell you what kind.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that you can't flag that?
Of course they can.
Of course they can, because I, as a company that tries to protect children, tries to post a stat about 90 from the Department of Justice. This is the Department of Justice I'm talking and quoting. 90% of victims are victimized by somebody they know or trust. That's all I wanted to say in a post, a graphic. They won't let me post it. I can't even pay them to put it out there for people to see. So you can monitor that, but you can't monitor the chats that are being had and the pictures and stuff that are being sent. Something needs to be happening. We're going there next. Trust me. That's going to now that one, you're facing a couple dozen $1 billion worth companies. I mean, these are double-digit billions, and they've got massive lawyers, and they're hard to go after, and they will shut you down. But I don't care, because once we get the people engaged, and then you get I don't know how familiar people are with class action lawsuits, but I hope the social media companies are listening right now, because when you get the people fired up and you have hundreds of thousands of parents whose kids have become victims of these crimes on their platforms, somebody's going to hold them accountable. There's so many things that need to take place right now, and what's going on. And this is why the parents and the people and even the children. I had a 24-year-old girl at an event, and we were talking to mostly older people. We're there doing a fundraiser, and they're being blown away by the lukewarm level 1 stuff that we're sharing. Yeah. Right? Because we don't want to tear their innocence. I know. Right? Like, we're like Nana's in the front row going like, oh my gosh. Literally doing those noises. Oh my God. Right? This 24-year-old girl's like, I wasn't supposed to be here. My dad was coming, but he couldn't go. And so I came with my mom. And she's like, you know what the most shocking thing is to me right now with this whole thing? And I was like, what's that? She's like, the gasps in the room. She's like, this has been my life for the last 10 years. All the stuff you're talking about, I've lived it for 10 years.
And how many others?
Every time. And you know how many, my best man, and I was his best man's niece, when I was talking to her, she's like, I want to go into the FBI. I want to do this. I'm like, why are you so fired up? She's like, attractive young girl. She's like, all these sick people that are always saying and doing all this stuff on this, like, I hate them. She's like, I had to just shut down all my accounts because I couldn't handle it. Even if you lock accounts, they can manipulate you through a child pretending to be a boy your age. They can still get in. And at some point, even grown women experience this, right? I get crazy stuff from me as like, hey, I'm a 32-year-old out of New York. Hey, Lisa, you want to go out this week? I'm like, sorry, this isn't Lisa. I know what's coming.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were Lisa.
Well, what's your name?
Yeah. And then it becomes all of a sudden you're getting pictures of them and you're like,
oh my God.
Yeah, so this is happening. There are forums that if people knew what was going on, the fact that you can have a .com that exists that's not illegal for selling sex, 100% sex sites, right? And then you have these sick forums and groups inside of all these different places that's like horrific things taking place. Like, why do we not have regulations? This should be, here's the thing. It used to be on the dark web, and then they're like, oh, well, we can bring it to the deep web. Oh, there's no monitoring on the clear web?
It doesn't even matter.
No, let's just put it out there for everyone.
God.
And all you have to do is type the wrong address in, and you're on a crazy site.
Yep.
Right? We know, because this is where we find these guys, right? It's so crazy to me that this is happening. Yeah. And then when people want to sit here and tell me like it's not happening, I don't even know where to start with that conversation, to be honest with you. And I love it when people are like, well, hey, I just don't know. Can you tell me? And then they want to learn and know and get educated. I'm cool. But when you want to tell me it's not happening, that to me tells me that there's something going on with you. Yeah. And you might be fooling some people, but you're not fooling all of us. No. And potentially, if you don't change your behavior, and even if it's something you did in the past that you need to ask for forgiveness for, you need to stop your behavior, especially if you're in a controlling position with power, and you need to do something.
Yes.
different.
Yes.
Because there's only so much that we can prove to you. There's only so many cases. There's only so many victims that can be victimized before you can accept the fact that it's happening. And it's happening here in the United States.
Yeah.
And if you don't think so, just from our training a couple of weeks ago in Texas, I don't even know the exact numbers, but I imagine within 2 or 3 weeks now, there's got to be 12 to 20 arrests that have been made. You know, that's in a smaller community. These departments are tiny.
Yeah.
That surround a somewhat bigger metropolitan city. But the things that we see, if you can tell me that it's not happening, you just don't know. Well, how about you trust the person that spends 24/7 for the last thousands of days doing this, and the other men and women who only focus on these crimes, and ask us if it's happening, because that's all we do.
Yeah.
Like for me, I don't work narcotics. I don't work embezzling cases. I don't work fraud cases.
But you're not saying that's not happening.
Of course. Right. No, actually, right now, this month is the National Sex Abuse Awareness Month. And it said that, according to the Child Protective Services, every 9 seconds, a child is sexually abused. That's Child Protective Services. So for somebody to tell me that children aren't being sexually abused, I can show you every 9 seconds where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Every 9 seconds.
Yeah.
That means probably on this podcast, potentially 70 to 100 will have been sexually abused during this time that people are listening and watching. It's time to do something about it.
Yes.
We have to.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. I know. And there's more. I could literally talk for days without stopping.
Yeah.
I lose my voice multiple times a day, because this is all I do is try to share knowledge and light and experience with people who don't know, because they need to know. People are thinking constantly that this is Pretty Women, the movie.
Oh, I know.
I'm a volunteer. I have an OnlyFans page. Let me tell you a little bit about OnlyFans. If there's a way to make money, these people will find a way to make money. And they're going to force fraud or coercion.
Yes.
That's a definition.
Yes.
They're going to force you. Oh, you just met a definition. Force you to make videos to monetize you.
Yes.
And monetize this act or lifestyle or image or whatever it is. And they're going to start raking in cash off of a young child or young teenager on a site, because people are going to follow it. Here's the crazy thing. Listen to this. You want to hear something nuts? You can find this on Instagram, and I'm going to call it out. There's a 8-year-old with 300,000 followers on Instagram.
8 years old?
8 years old. Interesting, right? That's what I said. 8. Come on.
Why?
Great question. Who do I question at this point? Because it says account monitored by parents. Great. Well, let's start at the basics. Why in the world would an 8-year-old have an Instagram account, right? Not only that, why in the world does an 8-year-old have 300,000 followers on Instagram? Let's think about that. I wonder if they can monetize that.
Yes.
So now are the parents making money off of an 8-year-old?
100%.
Because they're basically saying that it's ran by the parents. Are they checking the direct messages on there? Maybe. So at least you may be protecting that child. But now you're forcing your daughter to do these videos. They may not be sexual videos, but you're force, fraud, coercion.
Yep.
You're forcing your daughter at 8 years old to do videos for monetary value.
Oh my God.
Let's start looking at the 300,000 cesspool of people that follow this child. Thank you very much for having this account, because now you just gave us a whole bunch of leads.
Oh my gosh.
Because now when you start clicking on some of those people that are following them, guess what? They have no followers and they follow 2,000 accounts. Wow, we should start looking at the accounts that they're following.
All children.
Isn't it interesting? Who are they following? Oh, they're following the accounts that Instagram suggested for them to follow.
Oh.
How interesting is that?
Wow.
Is this starting to make sense to people?
Oh my God.
What's going on?
Oh my God.
When are we going to start holding these things accountable? And parents, for the love of God,
Please.
look at your children's followers. I had to have this conversation at Christmas. Your daughter probably doesn't know 90% of the people following her if they have a significant following and their account's open, right? Now, there's tons of things, and we can get into some of this. What can parents do to like help protect their children and all that stuff? But first of all, lock your accounts down. But if their account's unlocked, like the parents' is, because they're following their parents' lead, and the parents always on social media posting photos of their child's 10th birthday around the swimming pool and 10-year-olds in bikinis for the public to just hold their finger on and download onto their phone and then share and sell and create other accounts with, which is actually happening. If you're doing that and allowing that, your child's going to do it.
Yes.
And if you as a parent aren't educated on the fact that any photo you put on your account is open to the public, there are trolls. And I hope you don't follow somebody who has 1 million followers. Oh, that's interesting. Most people actually do follow people who have 1 million followers. Why would that be a concern? Oh, because if I'm a troll, you know where I'm going? To somebody who has 1 million followers. Because guess what? There's 1 million people there of accounts I can just troll through.
Oh my God.
And I can promise you, inside that million, there's probably a mom who's super proud of her children.
Yep.
And mostly what she posts is her children.
Yes.
And guess what I have access to? Photos of children.
Yes.
Let's go back to all these platforms. You know what they just introduced?
Oh my God.
Disappearing messages. In order to have access to those phones and have that trust built, you got to have a relationship with your child.
Yes.
And that's where this all has to start and stem from. When people say like, well, what can we do? You might have already damaged some of the relationship, but go back and reconcile, own it, apologize for whatever drama and stuff, because we all know how difficult this conversation is. With teenagers, phones, and social media.
Yeah.
Probably the most difficult
Oh my
conversation.
gosh.
I mean, really, truly.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing we're up against. We're up against technologies and society that's pushing so much sexualization. And it's in our kids' faces. So you could just be innocently on YouTube as a child, and on the side, and your next suggested feed is going to be to get clicks. You're going to actually be seeing photos of probably 1/8 or 1/16 dressed women laying across a car hood. And now all of a sudden a young boy goes, whoa, what was that weird feeling inside my body when I looked at that?
Yeah.
Stage 1,
Yep.
right? Curiosity.
Oh my God.
Curiosity leads to stage 2. Click on it. Whoa, what is that? Interesting. Those are weird feelings going on in my body right now.
Yeah. Grooming.
Now I should probably go to another stage. And then where does it go deeper? And then it just continues to just progress. And again, there's no restrictions. There's no restrictions. So we were just talking about,
It's freaking crazy.
Here's what's nuts. I make videos that are like to educate and inspire and like create change and, you know, at least get people to like go do things. And they'll tell me, and it's not like some bot telling me like, you're going against Facebook standards. It's actually inside of their business suite saying your account is at risk for content that goes against community standards. And I want to email them back and I want to send them an email. It's like, what community standards do you have? Because I'm trying to build safer communities.
Right. No kidding.
So how is this going to get, I don't know, give me your definition of community standards. Because here's my definition. Protect children at all costs.
Right.
That's my definition.
Yeah.
I'm not going against community standards. Apparently you have none. So I don't know what your community standards are. And maybe you should share that with the people of what your community standards are so I can be clear about your standards. But here's the standards of humanity. Children come first.
Yeah.
And if we're trying to protect them, I'm sure I'm going to get shut down after this podcast because I'm calling them out. Yeah. And that's the power they have. It's nonsense. Yeah. That's why I always tell people, sign up for our newsletter, because guess what? They don't have control over your inbox.
Yes.
I'm going to email you, and you're going to get all the things that you need, and it's actually going to get delivered to you because you can say no at some point. I don't want that anymore. But for the most part, it'll actually get delivered when I hit send.
Well, tell us how people can sign up for your newsletter.
Just go to the innocent.org. On the homepage, you can go down to the bottom and it just says newsletter, and just put your email address in there, submit it, and you're going to get all kinds of things. You're going to see a couple of different emails, just kind of give you some background on what we do and then introduce you to the team and all that. But here's the thing. What's important about that is because we're really going to be providing you the tools and the equipment that you're going to need and the action that you're going to take. Also, it's another way for me, if I'm going to do a video that social media won't put out there, I'll at least put it out on YouTube. And if YouTube won't promote it, I can put it in the email. You guys can go watch it.
Yeah.
So somehow I have to be able to communicate with you. I know you want the communication.
Yes.
You're begging me for the communication, but I can't even reach you. I actually can't reach you.
Isn't that nuts? But yet a 40-year-old can reach an 8-year-old any
No,
second.
they're going to tell you how to reach them. Here, click on this button.
Yeah. Ah!
Yeah. I know, man. Oh, gosh. Tell me about it. This is the stuff that why I don't sleep at night. There's so much more to do. There's so much more to do. And what I want to encourage people is like, look, we work in a dark space. We need the light. And that's the people.
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't get discouraged by all this stuff. You know, sometimes I feel like, man, I hope you're not discouraged because I'm sharing with you the realities. I hope that actually gives you the courage to go out and actually take action.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? I've heard enough. It's time. I'm going to set this down. I'm going to pick this up. And I'm going to let go of some of the things that I don't even have the time for that aren't making real impact. And I'm going to go pick something up that's going to make change, make impact, and bring that light. Because here's the thing. This is how I look at it. And I won't get into all the details of how this happened, but this sexual abuse can become a plague and spread. People who become victims can also become the perpetrators, and it can kind of spread. And then this person says, "Oh, this is normal. I was told it's normal."
Yeah.
Boom, and then and then that person's. We have to get in front of this and stop it so that the dark can't keep overtaking the light. Because when they overtake these children's innocence and just really rob them of that, it's just dark infiltrating. And so we have to find a way to stop it. That's why I said preventable is the key, not reacting. It's too late. The dark's already infiltrated that soul. You got to stop it before it gets there. And so that's where we need to really get the people to come together as this army on this battlefield in the war for innocence and go out there and be part of it. Become the light. Be the light in this dark, disgusting world that we live in. And so don't be discouraged, be encouraged that you can actually make change and make impact.
Yes.
And that's where I think that, you know, people hopefully will take away from this is like, let's go. I'm fired up. I want to do something and I want to do it in my community. I want to protect my kids.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, I've heard this before, like, I don't know what my purpose is. How do you find your purpose? I get asked that a lot. What pisses you off? What fires you up? When you hear something and something it makes you enraged inside, maybe you need to look into that as part of what your purpose might be.
Yeah.
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 So I would encourage anybody that's listening to this today, like if you're fired up, if these things upset you to the point that you just feel like you have to do something, maybe this is your time to realize this is your purpose, is to be the light like Nate has been saying today. Be the light. Stand up for what is right. And let's get the tools. Like, I'm excited about these tools because I feel like a lot of people are going to utilize them, especially in this community.
Yeah.
Like, we got some fired up people here.
Yeah. Across America.
Yeah.
It's not just this community.
Yeah.
It's across America.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of children that are relying on us.
Yeah.
You know?
And future children.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a lot to carry. You know, there's a lot at stake.
Yeah.
Here.
There is.
There's lives, there's innocence, there's years, decades of healing at stake or avoidance. You know, part of the
generational thing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You know, one of the things that we talk about is like with these sentencing, this training and building these strong cases and all that thing is like, how do we create 10,000 years of innocence? You know, like if we could get 10,000 years of sentencing, we've just created 10,000 years of innocence. And I think that that's really what we need to focus on. That's what's at stake here.
Yeah.
You know, the innocence and lives of children, and their life, you know, long term. So, and the access that people have to the children right now is insane. So we need to demand more from the people that have the power. We need to take the power back and start asking those that work for us to start making the children a priority, and that people can help with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
Thanks for having us on.
Safe Harbor is dedicated to helping survivors of trauma find healing and restoration through support, resources, and community. They provide hope for those affected by human trafficking. Visit safeharborforfreedom.com to learn more or support their mission today. Thank you so much, Safe Harbor, for supporting the survivor's voice. Next week on The Survivor's Voice,
I could tell something wasn't right. She's sending me straight to the emergency room. It was gut-wrenching because when I wasn't getting better.
Thank you for joining us on The Survivor's Voice. I'm Angie Sedore, reminding you that every survivor's story matters, including yours. If you or someone you know has a story to share, you can contact us at booking@thesurvivorsvoice.net. Your voice deserves to be heard. If you enjoy the survival stories we share, we would love it if you gave this channel a follow and a 5-star rating. No matter how dark the journey, the light of resilience shines brighter. Thank you for listening. If you know someone who would benefit from hearing this story of survival, please share this powerful testimony with them. A heartfelt thank you to our incredible listeners for your unwavering support and to the survivor community for your courage and resilience. You are the heart of this podcast. Special thanks to our producer and editor, Christina Elder, and to Dan Wise with Wise Media Studios for bringing these powerful stories to life. Your dedication makes the Survivor's Voice possible.